Hello, everybody. It's Josh Lloyd. It's a pregame show. We've got 6 games on today. I'm joined by Obi. You can see his head there. We've got 6 games that we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into those. We're going to do dribble game. We're going to look at lineups. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to talk injury updates. Just got one on Brandon Clark saying that hopefully he's ready sometime next week. If that's not a sign that you need to drop him, drop him. By the way, Kyle Lowry just announced as out for tomorrow with knee discomfort. Maybe that's why he's been getting no free throws at all and usage has been well down. So Kyle Lowry out tomorrow. Gabe Vincent, Victor Oladipo are the guys that get the boost there. Welcome everybody in. Good to have you guys here. We'll get to dribble game in a second. Let's just flick across now and do some dribble game action if I can actually get the screen to work. Let's get across there now. All right, let's see. How quick are we gonna be able to do this one? All right. Gary Trent to Klay Thompson. Well, that's Otto Porter. Come on. What are we doing? That's Otto Porter. Bang. Easy. All right. Let's go back to this screen. Yeah, let's go back to the lineup screen. So what do we know about today's games? We know the Wizards are starting Morris, Kispert, Kuzma, Porzingis, and Gafford. We know CJ McCollum is back for the Pelicans, so it should be CJ, Herb, Najee, Trey, and Jonas. We're still waiting on a few statuses. In fact, let's just talk about what injuries we actually know. Ingram is out. CJ is back. Larry Nance is back. Beal is out for Washington. For Milwaukee, Chris Middleton is out. For the Knicks, RJ Barrett is out. For the Bulls, Caruso is in and Javonte Green is out. For the Celtics, Marcus Smart is out. For the Grizzlies, we're still waiting on Ja Morant, but Adams is playing and Desmond Bane is playing. Brandon Clark is out. For the Spurs, Keldon Johnson is out. Jakob Poeltl is back and Josh Richardson is playing. For the Lakers, LeBron is out. Troy Brown is out, as is Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis. Westbrook is still probable. For the Magic, Bol is out and Isaac is out, but Malik Monk will return for Sacramento. And I think that's all of that injury stuff that has come through now. So yeah, that's good news, isn't it? It's good to see. All right. Do I see Trey Murphy as a stash or a drop? Well, I don't know what you're stashing him for because things are only going to get worse as the season goes along. Right, when Ingram comes back, and then when Zion comes back, it's going to get worse for Trey Murphy. This is actually peak Trey Murphy time. I think, though, with what's been happening with his usage and his production, that really he is more just a points and threes and free throw percentage streamer. That's really all he is. David says, is Josh Richardson questionable or out? Josh Richardson is in. He's playing. Do I think Nance is worth a hold? I think that Nance's value drops when Zion is out. So I think that his value is less now than what it will be when Zion returns. I think he's fine if you need field goal percentage, steals, and blocks in a category league. In a points league, I wouldn't bother. But he's not going to be for everybody in a category league. How do I feel about Lowry moving forward in points and category leagues? He was great for a while, but now he's getting outplayed by Victor. I don't really think there's anything to do with Victor, to be honest. That's impacting him. I just think that he's struggling. He's obviously got that knee problem. I would still hold him, though. I don't think he's losing his spot. He's still playing 30-plus minutes a night. It is just a really poor slump. Okay. It is the big fella Obi, as someone just said. NA says, if you're comfortably at the top of the league and want to buy low on guys like KD, Towns, Zion, what level of discount do you think is fair? Particularly if they're owners of fringe playoff teams. I think that you can get away, especially with KD's recent news and injury. Like KD might be out to the All-Star break. You could, top 70 player, I reckon. Honestly. If a player's a fringe team, they need something that's not the 140th best player off the waiver wire. So a top 60, 70 player is worth looking at. Towns is probably 3 weeks away. Zion's probably 3 to 4 weeks away. I think you're looking at Zion maybe top 60. Towns probably top 40, I'd guess. But again, a lot of these guys won't be willing to trade those players. What about Kessler? Kessler's been must roster for weeks, Troy. Weeks. And he still is. Ernest, do you put refried beans on your nachos? I don't really make nachos very often, and normally I don't put beans on. It's normally just cheese, salsa, and guacamole. Guacamole. Do I put refried? I like refried beans a lot. I don't normally put them on nachos, though. When does AD return? Well, we don't know yet, but what the latest news is... Hey, Dizzy. There's the other dog in here. That he's going to start ramping up this week, and that's probably 2 to 3 more weeks is the short answer. Is Rui Hachimura a 16-team League 8? Yes. Do I believe in Oladipo? Yeah, look, it's always great to have people who don't watch every show come in all the time and ask questions. Do I believe in him? I think the shooting's always going to be an issue, but his role is pretty strong, and he is a 12-team league guy. Is there any chance Tom Bryant keeps some playing time and value when AD is back? Yeah, look, there's a chance. We saw at the start of the season he just really didn't play at all. When Davis was there, Davis would play 36 minutes and Bryant would play 12. So I think there's a little bit more of a chance for crossover between those two, and I definitely wouldn't drop him as soon as Davis is back. I'd like to see how it all looks first. Do I think Steph sits back-to-backs? No, I don't. He might sit one back-to-back. It's a shoulder issue. It's not a lower body injury. I don't think he sits... I think he was sitting back-to-backs to begin the season anyway. Some of them. So I think he'll still be on that sort of a plan. Do I think Jalen Duren is worth keeping on a punt field goal team? Yes, because somebody is going to value him. And if it's not you, don't just drop him. He is way too good to consider dropping, even if you don't need field goal percentage. Duren or Gafford rest of season points league? Well, have a look. What are they averaging over the last week in a points league? And that's a pretty fair representation of their rest of season value. What's D'Lo's value? I need to trade him too many guards. You don't need to trade him at all. Why do you think you need to trade him? People will say, well, I've got too many guards. I need to balance things out. You don't. You don't need to balance things out at all. What's his value? His value is whatever someone's willing to give you. Now, I don't think he's a top 50 player. I think he's more of a top 70, top 65 sort of a player. But really investigate, why do you need to trade him? Because having too many guards, unless you've got 10 guards and one forward, then you don't need to trade him. Any idea when Cam Johnson returns? They haven't really told us. I would guess end of the week. How many more 50-game seasons do we have for Gobert? Top 50 seasons. I'll say one more after this one. Did I already cover that Bojan is listed out? No, I didn't. Bojan is listed out tomorrow. So Sadiq Bey will probably move in there and probably be quite bad. He's a points and 3 sort of a player, but that's it. What sort of load do I expect for Obi-Wan when he's back in the lineup? That's Obi Toppin, for those of you unaware. Exactly the same as before he was injured. Whatever minute Julius Randle doesn't get. So 12 a night, maybe 15 a night. Is Zach Collins a pickup with Jakob Pavk? Is that meant to say back? Is he a pickup? He's got some real solid value just in case something happens to Pirtle as limited minutes. I think he's a luxury stash, Zach Collins. He's a luxury stash. Someone asked about streams for today. I think that's a good question. Any elite streams? I don't know if there's any elite ones, but let's have a look what we've actually got available. Let's look at some players who are on the waiver wire. Well, Dan Gafford's the number one guy. He's available in 50% plus. It's him. It's Schroeder. Fultz is still around for some God knows reason. I don't know what it is. Brogdon and Derek White in Boston. Emmanuel Quickley. Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall. Quentin Grimes. Monte Morris. So, yeah, quite a few good streams. You want to go deeper? There's Denny Avdia. There's Josh Richardson. There's Grant Williams. There's Zach Collins, Delon Wright, Sohan. And then Kendrick Nunn with LeBron out is maybe someone to look at, but I don't feel great about that. Would I keep Tyus when Morant is back? Well, we've seen when Morant and Bane play, Tyus really doesn't do anything. He's, again, in that luxury stash position where if you're really strong in the standings, top 1 or 2, he's a great hold because when Morant is out, you get top 60 numbers. But on his own, with his own value, that's not really there. But Morant is prone to injuries. We know that. So I think he's worth a hold if you're in a strong position. Am I worried about Beal and his hammies? Yeah. He had 4 injuries with him this season? So you have to be. Start playing the rap song for Markkiners. I've never heard I know some people have asked me about it. I've never heard this song. Probably won't play it. Maybe I will. I don't know. I've never heard it. And it's not something that I'm massively... Hey, who knows? At some point I'll listen to it. What have you heard that makes you think Cam Johnson would return the end of the week? Because it's around that time frame from his initial injury. He's with the team. He's doing stuff that's basically his normal pre-game workout, and that would mean that he's starting to get close. That's it. Who knows, though? Like, they haven't told us. Is Monk worth an ad today with a favourable schedule? Yes. Yep. Even though everyone's healthy. Look, they've been healthy all season, Sacramento. And Monk's had value for most of the season. And I think the fact that he had a rest with his leg gives him back to those 24, 25 minutes. Schroeder or Jason Richardson? Wow, throwback there. Josh Richardson, you mean? I'll take Schroeder. I don't feel good about that, though. But I'll take Schroeder. Do I think Plumlee will get traded? Well, if they're a competent organization, then yes, but they're not. So, look, in general, if the question is going to be, do you think a player gets traded? The answer is always no. Or if the answer is always going to be no, because it just doesn't happen. Trades that we expect to happen don't happen. He might get traded. The likelihood is that he doesn't. So don't bank on that. Lowry is out today. Yes, he is. Do I expect Middleton to play any games this week? I expect him to play one. Do I see Trey Murphy playing better with Zion and or Ingram back? Not really, because he just played fewer minutes. And realistically, that's what it comes down to. Jock Londale says, am I starting tomorrow? Jock. I don't know, mate. I don't think so. Every game that Ayton has missed, it's been, nearly every game that Ayton has missed, it's been Biyombo who has started. Pelicans lineup confirmed: McCollum Jones, Marshall, Murphy, Valanciunas. Lost all faith in Horford? No, not really. Haven't lost all faith, but I understand that his value is not for everybody. He's never going to be a big scorer. His free throws are well off this season. He provides some good rebounds and hits some threes, but it's not for everybody. And I think that at his age, when you see a decline that we have seen over the course of 30, 40 games, it's been a good stretch. There's been a couple of slumps in there. But the fact that this team, and even the players, like, hey, we need to start Rob Williams, does that mean that Horford actually goes to the bench? I don't think so. But it's not out of the realms of possibility. So in a 12-team points league, I have no interest in keeping Al Horford. In a 10-team category league, he can move on from him, no problem. In a 12-team category league, head-to-head, all the back-to-backs that get sat, the subpar production, probably not worth it. In a roto league, you've got more of an ability to use him. But it's got to be a really specific team, honestly. Is Avdia worth the pickup? I don't know. Last game was pretty poor from Avdia with Beal out, but he'd been pretty strong with Beal out in other games. I think he's worth a look. I wouldn't say I feel particularly comfortable with it. What shoe am I copying next? Well, that depends on which ones I'm able to get. There's nothing that's massively on the horizon, I don't think, at the moment that I'm like really focused in on, though. Where I've got like, oh man, I can't wait to get that. I don't think there's anything that's like that coming at the moment. I'm just looking up. What shoes are coming out at the moment? I can't think of anything major. Maybe the year of the rabbit, Jordan 1 lows, but there's only like 5,000 pairs of those that are being produced. So the chances of getting that are basically nil. So I don't know. There's not much that's coming out at the moment as far as I'm aware. Right, let's go back to questions. Actually, let's go back and check on news, if any other news has dropped. There is no other news except to say that Larry Nance is in. Okay. Do I see anything special coming from Jaden Hardy? No, I wouldn't say special. And for fantasy this year, no. No. He's going to play a limited role. He'll be a scorer who's very up and down in percentages. And he probably plays 18, 17, 15 minutes a night. I think he can work his way into being a solid rotational NBA player, maybe with some starter value. But special, I don't think so. Will I draft Wemby in the first round? Absolutely no chance. Do I think Robert Williams' minutes will go up soon? Yes, I do. Maybe a week or two, but I think they will start to go up soon, yes. Who do I think is the greatest fantasy player of all time? Like Jokic, Harden, LeBron. You go back 80s, like Jordan, Bird, Hakeem. Their numbers are ridiculous. Go back and have a look at some of their numbers. When is Jalen Smith giving us value? Probably never. Like he's a backup center now and playing 15 minutes a night. So probably never. I don't really have a go-to ice cream flavor. I do like to move around with what I'm choosing. But I'll tell you what flavor I'll never choose, and that's pistachio, owl flavor. Giancarlo Santos. How important is depth versus star power in a 14-team league? Depth is important. It is important. Like star power is fine, but in a 14-team league, you do need depth. And the deeper you get, the more important depth becomes. Will Lowry bounce back? I don't know. I'll expect him to improve somewhat because he's not shooting the ball well at all. But honestly, it's really hard. Blackzilla. Hey, Josh, how long do I think Kelly O is out? Oubre or Olynyk? I assume you mean Olynyk because he's the most recent injury. I don't know. They haven't told us. I'm expecting at least a week. I think if he's out, if we hear he's if we hear he's out longer than a week, then it does become hard to hold. Claxton's usage and rebounds should go up without KD. He's not a high usage player, so there's no guarantee that he goes up in usage. It's not like they're going to say, all right, let's just kick it out to Claxton and let him cook. Like that's just not necessarily what's going to happen. It goes more to Kyrie. You get a little bit more Simmons, but you get more of guys like Warren and Curry and Watanabe and Harris and those guys getting usage. They're not going to start running plays for Claxton. I wouldn't have thought, right? It's just going to be the same sort of shit. Rebounds, maybe. Maybe he gets some more rebounds without KD. That's possible. Thoughts on Sleeper Dynasty? Terrible format. Dreadful format. Their app is nice. It works well. Their fantasy basketball format is horrible. And the fact that they give you no options to change it is ridiculous. If they just gave you the options to use their way that they've sold fantasy basketball, along with other things, then great. But they don't. So it's bad. Hardy has been decent with field goals and threes, yes, but I don't expect those field goals to stay at that level. Threes, sure. Do I think Steph is playing tomorrow? It definitely seems like it, doesn't it? They said he's probably going to be probable, but then they did list him as questionable. But it looks like he's going to play, which is pretty crazy. Why is Jalen Williams the Bronco? Because he went to Santa Clara, and their mascot is the Bronco, and there are two Jalen Williamses on that team, so you got to find a way to differentiate them somehow, don't you? Do I consider myself a Riz god? Absolutely not, Jao. Come on. How tall am I? I am 6'4". Can I easily dunk a basketball? No. I'm too old and fat and unathletic at this point. I have dunked in the past, not in a game, but I have dunked in the past, but I couldn't do it now. I'd have to do a fair bit of work to get back to that. Do I like Gafford over 1.5 blocks and steals? Yeah, I think he's got a chance of going over 1.5 blocks, to be honest. What is the best Dynasty platform? It's easily Fantrax. No matter what your problem is with Fantrax, it is easily the best Dynasty format. There is no debate around it. There's none. There's nothing that you can't do on Fantrax for a Dynasty League. It is easily the best format, best platform. Sleeper's fantasy meme tweets. I haven't seen. What are those, old mate Sean? I haven't seen them. Is Suggs worth rostering in 12-team category leagues? I don't think so. Is Lowry pronounced the same as Lowry? Yes. Yes, Lowry Markkinen, Kyle Lowry. Yes, I believe it is. Adams is in earnest. You can see it on the screen as we're talking here. You can see the screen. It's got Adams with a green in next to his name. And Ja Morant's got a blue questionable because he's still questionable. That's what all that stuff on the screen means. Your playoff start in 3 weeks is Vassell a drop. Yeah, he's not going to be back. So sure. Would I take Olynyk and Duran for Hayes in a points league to get... Well, look, have a look at what are these guys averaging, right? It's a points league, so simple equations. I would have thought Duran and Hayes wouldn't have been too far apart in terms of fantasy points. Now, do you have the ability to hold Olynyk straight into an IR slot? Do you have to drop someone to take on a zero of Olynyk? Overall, that's going to benefit you, I'm guessing. Ryan says, what's your cutoff when deciding to drop someone for a stream? Example, Duran averages 27.5. There are 10 waiver guys averaging 24. Well, for example, an average player plays 4 games a week. Less than 4 games, 3.7 games per week is the average played. So you can quickly do this calculation. So 3.7 times 27.5. You know what? Let's bring my calculator up. 27.5 times 3.7 is 101 fantasy points, right? So that would mean that if someone's averaging 24, you need them to play 4 games of a waiver wire player to be around equivalent of that. If you stream correctly using your streaming slot, you might be able to get 5 games, sometimes 6, this week 7. So this week, 7 spots times, say, 24, 168 fantasy points versus 101 of Jalen Duren. Some weeks, you can only get 4 spots, so 4 times 24, 96, a little bit of a loss. Some weeks, you can get 5 games from your waiver wire, times 24, 120. In general, you usually should be able to get 5 games out of a streaming slot, making it more valuable than that 27.5. Did I want my son to join the family business, or is it what he's interested in? Well, he hasn't really joined it. He came on one show and did a thing. Like he's not like he's doing work. He's at school. Like he's not doing fantasy work or anything like that. So we'll see what he ends up doing. He's more of a football person than basketball, though. Do I think Man starts at point guard tomorrow? Yes. Everything that Ty Lue said would suggest that he is going to start. Is Derek White a hold for now? Yeah. Marcus Smart is out. The Celtics have 3 games in 4 nights. He absolutely is. How worried am I about LeBron being ruled out relatively early today? It's not a great sign. It's not a great sign that he was ruled out already for the game today. Someone said, is it because of the back-to-back? Maybe, but he had Sunday off. So he's going to have Sunday, Monday off. Actually, what I think probably part of it is they don't play till Thursday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days off in a row. Maybe it's part of that. The ankle's going to be an issue for him all season, though, is what I fear. Detroit and Chicago, only 1 game next week. Drop all fringe guys. That's going to depend on a lot of things, Galen. Who's a fringe guy? Pat Williams? Yes. Dosunmu, Caruso, all fringe players. Do you consider Killian Hayes and Jalen Duren fringe guys? I don't really. Sadiq Bey is elite. Alec Burks is. Isaiah Stewart is. They're all fringe players. I don't consider the others fringe players. And that's going to depend as well. Are you battling to get into the playoffs? Because if you are, then you do need to maximize games. If you're top 3, then who cares? Like, if you take a loss by playing 2 fewer games out of 1 roster slot, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. How long will Booker be out? I'm guessing another 3 to 4 weeks. Who's my son's favorite football player? I'd say it's Justin Herbert. He does have his own YouTube channel. He hasn't put any content on there, but maybe he'll do fantasy football stuff at some point. Bam playing tomorrow? We don't know, Turk. He's listed questionable. I doubt that he plays. No idea, Devon, whether Jar sits today, whether he'll be back by Wednesday. No idea. Couldn't even remotely tell you. Şengün or Gobert points league? Mustafa, what do they average in your points league? Have a look over the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks, the last week, the whole season. This is how you make a decision in a fantasy points league. Right? Understanding the trends. Şengün's production is rising at the moment, so it's more realistic to have a look at what he's done the last week, to the last 2 weeks, last 10 days. Gobert's value has been relatively static, but then see which one you want from there. Who do I like more between Grimes or KCP for a point stream? I don't think either of them are particularly strong points league players. I'd probably go for Grimes. I just feel more confident in his minutes. Where would I rank the ads between Dwayne Washington, Gabe Vincent, or Mann? That's a good question. Dwayne, at this point, I don't believe we know if Chris Paul is out. I think he's still questionable. So if Paul plays, Washington has no value at all. Vincent's probably going to start with Lowry out, and Mann is almost definitely going to start. I will take Vincent, Mann, Washington. Do I ever miss being a pharmacist? Absolutely not. Is Shamet still worth the 12? Yes, he is. discussed this earlier today. Yes. Giancarlo Santos, I answered that question 15 minutes ago. Is Patrick Williams worth a stream as Javonte is out today? Yeah. Yeah, he is. He can obviously struggle, but minutes go up. Do I put pineapple on pizza? I don't make my own pizzas, but I've got pineapple on pizza is actually delicious. I enjoy it. Was my fantasy football finals affected by the cancelled game? No, we didn't have anyone. Neither team had anyone from Bills Bengals, so I was able to win that outright. What's this? Short rehab legend Joe Ingles was an amazing line in the fly. What do you mean line in the fly? What does that mean? Am I secretly Ivica Zubats? No, because he's 7 foot tall, and I'm not. Do I feel players are getting more injured or sitting more this year than previous? No. People keep telling you, it's just not. It just isn't. Like people and everyone's load managing. Like, are they who? Whenever you ask someone that, like then they have these narratives made up in their head. I was arguing with this guy on Twitter yesterday who told me that load management has led to more injuries. And the people who load manage get injured. He goes, look at what happened to Paul George. He sat every back-to-back last season and got injured. Well, he didn't sit back-to-backs at all. And hurt his elbow. What's that got to do with anything? But you get told all of this nonsense. Like, not one person has had any issue with Jamal Murray sitting back-to-backs. Right? Not one person. He played the last one, but not one person. He also tore his ACL 1 month before, or 1.5 months before Kawhi Leonard did. All right? Yep. Then Kawhi had a bit of a setback at the start of the season. But everyone, and there's one particular person who goes on and on about it on Twitter, and he annoys me so much. Kawhi's the softest. He's the worst. Look, they're so lazy. They're just stealing money. They're never going to play. Like, he's recovering from a torn ACL. Exactly the same as Jamal Murray. Like, exactly the same. But you get it told into your head that everyone's soft and they're stealing money and teams should not pay them for games they don't play. It's the teams that are telling them not to play to prevent serious injuries. I don't understand why that's so hard for people to understand. Game of the day. Old mate Sean. Let's have a look. I think Bucks and Knicks is going to be interesting. Lakers have been playing well, with no LeBron, though, that's going to make it tough. Yeah, look, and the other one is Kings Magic, I think, is pretty interesting. What are we doing with Embiid for weekly lineups at lock today? It's tough, Nick, because I don't think he plays tomorrow. But he's officially listed questionable. It is really hard. Like, how do you make that call on a player as good as Embiid who might end up playing 2 games only for the week? Oh no, they got 3 games, and a back-to-back. So you might only play 2. I think I would take I think 2 games of Embiid is enough to lock in, and I think he gets 2 out of the remaining 3, or out of the total 4. Do we drop quickly immediately after Barrett returns? I'd like to see 1 game and see what happens. Did I end up winning my fantasy NFL? I did, yes. Spurs are obviously tanking. What can we do about it? Well, people thought that the Jazz were obviously tanking in the offseason, and the Thunder were obviously tanking this season, and they thought the Cavs were obviously tanking last season. So what's obvious about it? What's obvious? Look, I admit that some of their decisions are a bit weird, and they're probably going a little bit over the top with maybe some injuries, but Keldon Johnson hurt his hamstring in-game. What more can you say about that? Devin Vassell's knee was obviously an issue. They're not cutting someone's knee open to fake an injury. They're not. Are they going to be more liberal with rests and recoveries and all that sort of stuff? Yes. But they still won some games recently, so I don't know. What can you do about it? Nothing. There's going to be weirdness happening, for sure. That's just going to happen. But we just get too caught up in this stuff, I think. And that is going to bring me out of this show. We're done with today's show because the games are about to start. So I will see you guys later on. If you can hit a thumbs up on the way out, that would be very, very much appreciated. Help the show out. Check out the other shows on the channel, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.